Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, streaming January 25th, only on Netflix.
Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Central Texas Life with Ann Harder. And it is my joy to introduce you to Lawrence Lowe. He likes to be called Larry.
That's right.
And he is the third of our 4 finalists for music director, conductor for the Waco Symphony Orchestra. And it's just been a delight to have a little time to sit down with these stellar musicians and just sort of pick their brain a little bit about how they came to this point, what they think about Central Texas, what they, how they want things to look.
Yeah, I look forward to this conversation.
Well, now we have had the chance to speak before during our sort of process. We had more than 100 people apply for Stephen Hyde's position that he had for, 4 decades, or more than 3 decades at Waco Symphony. And when we'd culled it down, 3 of us had 3 different people to talk to on videotape. And you were one of my you were one of my 3. And
that's great.
It was so much fun because we really got a chance to, and I asked the same questions of every, that was one thing. This will not be, I don't remember what I asked.
Right, yeah, right. But you kept it standardized.
But it was very standardized for that. But it was so neat to hear your responses and and I could tell even then how personable you are. And I think that really comes through, to folks.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's important that you're a top flight musician, but, part of the job is also, working with people.
Absolutely. It's a huge part of it, especially because the conductor is a person recognized by the audience as a very, recognizable part of the orchestra. And if they can tell the story of what's happening, I think that's really important for just the relationship with the community and translating things that are happening. And we're kind of that conduit between these wonderful musicians and the audience as the person creating a space in which everyone can be at their best, either performing or as a person receiving the audience and helping make that connection. We're that bridge.
Well, and we're visiting a day before the actual concert takes place, but you're seeing this after the fact.
Right.
So
it went great.
I know it's going to. Well, because I was able to sit in a little bit on rehearsal. And really, really excited about the Aaron Copland.
Oh, yes.
Piece. Now, was that one of the pieces you got to choose, or I forget?
Yeah, so the artistic advisor is Miguel Harth-Bedoya, who is the director of orchestras at Baylor currently. I know him actually from his time as a guest conductor in Denver with the Colorado Symphony, and then when he got the Fort Worth position as music director, I was the associate conductor in Dallas Symphony at the same time. And he used to invite me to come over and conduct Fort Worth, and we've known each other through the years. And so in this process, all 4 of the candidates were collaborating with Miguel on creating the programs, and he picked one of the pieces, and the Aaron Copland Lincoln Portrait was the piece that he picked.
Oh, that he picked.
Yes.
All right. And so, but part of the process is to see what other things you, as a conductor, want to pair with this just really iconic piece.
Right. And
With
actually,
Glenn Beals,
right,
a
right,
fabulous
yes, yeah,
singer that
he's-
many people know in Central
Yes.
Texas. What a voice! I mean, what a
He's
beautiful.
wonderful.
I mean, I was in tears last night at the rehearsal just
Yeah.
when he first started
Yes,
speaking.
he is amazing, and he is the narrator for the Copeland. And actually, the way the process worked with Miguel is that I presented the other pieces 1st, and then he put that piece
Oh,
in
is
at
that
the
how
end.
that worked? Okay.
So yeah, so I think
that's
it's
cool.
probably different with each person, but the way that it worked is we actually first worked on deciding, or I submitted some ideas for the second half, which is the Shostakovich Fifth Symphony, and then he then suggested the Aaron Copland as a way to provide some contrast, and the two pieces were written around the same time, like 5 years between them. And he also, and I loved the idea that it would be an opportunity for us to collaborate with someone as a narrator, because we don't really have a guest concerto soloist or something like that on these programs. But for me, it was important that we have something a little bit different, and so then he thought of the Copeland as a great piece to put in that position, and then I was able to find Glenn through a contact. One of my best friends is a Baylor graduate who did recitals with Glenn, who is also a Baylor graduate and wonderful tenor.
Yeah.
And I thought, because this is a piece that requires, even though it's a spoken role, it requires musicianship. And
You have to be able to read
you have
music.
to be able to read music, or I have to cue every
And you
single
were,
one of them.
Yeah, but you were doing a great job of cueing.
Well,
too,
I mean,
but
and my cues in just in that rehearsal, because it was the first time we had gone through it, you will see that I was cueing less and less.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he doesn't really need me to cue him
Right.
because he's reading the music.
Yeah.
So my cues were, and it's the same with the orchestra, honestly. When I give a cue, they are reading the music. They know when they're going to come in, but the cue is a confirmation and also a preparation and a how. There are all these sort of gestural. There are so many meanings to the gestures that conductors give to an orchestra or to a narrator that should instill confidence and also a little bit of direction in terms of how to present whatever it is. So with Glenn last night, it was just once he started, and I felt the same. I had goosebumps.
Yeah.
He has the perfect voice for this, for speaking, and I
And
know that he's
it's
gonna.
a setting about Abraham Lincoln.
Right, it's about
Right.
Abraham Lincoln. It's words about Abraham Lincoln as well as words that he spoke. So it's all collected by Aaron
Powerful.
Copland, and it's
Yeah.
a very powerful piece.
Yeah, had the opportunity to hear you speak at a little brunch that the Waco Symphony Council, of course, which is the fundraising arm of the Waco Symphony, and I was struck by something that you said I hadn't really thought about, but how you as a conductor are aware of the acoustics in the room, and I'm thinking we're in Waco Hall, and it has a certain acoustic property to it, and that can dictate how fast or slow you take a tempo. I mean,
Sure,
to me
yeah,
there's
yeah.
so many nuances of what
Yeah.
you do that you're not just waving your arms.
Right. And I think so. For example, I've had 3 rehearsals, final rehearsals tonight.
Yeah.
The dress rehearsal where we will run the whole program with some rehearsal, but at the end. But I run each piece. But through these first 3 rehearsals, it was a process of getting to know the acoustic, and in this case, I didn't change the tempo, but I changed how long to play certain notes.
Really?
And I have them generally playing longer in certain passages, where in some overly reverberant rooms you might need them to play shorter in
Yeah.
order to be articulate enough. And in this case, I have them playing a little longer to create a sense of a grand space.
Yeah.
That because the acoustic on the stage is a little drier, we can create some of that ambiance just by playing a little bit longer, a little bit differently after the initial note starts.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the. Well, we haven't even said what you're doing. What you're doing now, music director of Symphoria in Syracuse, New York. So you live in the Northeast. You kind
Live
of
in
grew up in the
Northeast.
Northeast.
Yep. Yeah, I grew up in central Pennsylvania, in Carlisle, which is, there's the Interstate 81 and the Turnpike, and the intersection is Carlisle. Home of Dickinson College, the Army War College, Jim Thorpe, and it was a great small town to grow up, and my parents still live there, and we go there for Thanksgiving, and we now live in Syracuse, where I'm music director of the orchestra up there, which is a very interesting orchestra. They are the successor to the Syracuse Symphony, and it is a cooperative orchestra. And what I love about this, and this is something that I would do here, is that there are a lot of voices in the orchestra in other parts of what the orchestra does. For example, in programming. So in some orchestral situations, the music director picks pieces kind of in a vacuum and not necessarily in a collaborative way, and maybe sometimes occasionally asking for input from the orchestra. But in Syracuse, I work with a team of musicians and community members and staff in putting programs together for the whole season. So there will be pieces that originated from a musician in the orchestra that they pitch and that we discuss and put together. And I think that generates some really interesting ideas. And I love that I was able to collaborate with Miguel in this program in Waco. And I think that that's a sort of collaborative approach that I would I know from my own experience that I would want to replicate here in some way.
Of course, the Waco Symphony blessed with so many outstanding professors in,
Yes.
in the School of Music.
Yes.
You got some.
We have some
musicians
top
in
flight
that.
musicians
Yes,
and some
no
great
question.
minds and
Yeah.
people who know what's happening in the industry, people who know repertoire, and I would love to hear about those ideas for sure. Yeah.
Some of the other things you've worked with the Pittsburgh Symphony, the Northeastern Pennsylvania Philharmonic, Syracuse Opera, Pittsburgh Youth Symphony, Dallas Symphony, and I think you may have had a chance to meet with some folks. A good friend of mine with the Waco Youth Chorus.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of great arts in Waco that I can just see things working together. Even more so.
For sure. The symphony here has this kind of unique position in the cultural life of Waco,
Yes.
in that they are able to collaborate with so many different groups. For example, obviously dance, and they do these amazing Nutcracker performances I think this year because they're so popular. And visual arts are something that can be collaborated with the orchestra. I've done concerts where we had a cartoonist on the stage
I've heard of
projecting
that.
their drawing onto a screen above the orchestra
Yeah.
while we play music about, let's say, the flight of the bumblebee, and then they're writing, they're drawing a live cartoon to
incredible.
that.
Yeah.
And audiences love that sort of thing. We have these incredible murals that I've been seeing around the city, and to have that sort of thing happening live to music is absolutely. There are pieces of music written about graffiti and that
Really?
sort of. Yes.
Yeah.
I believe Carlos Simon wrote a piece about graffiti, and you could easily create a concert where something like that happens live to the music. So the symphony has virtually unlimited ways to collaborate with all the other arts organizations. Obviously, you mentioned singing and choral, and you sing in chorus as well. That those sorts of collaborations are really important and absolutely in the wheelhouse of what's possible.
Yeah. I love the fact that part of your academic training is in choral music.
Right. Yeah. My master's is choral. And what's funny about that is that I didn't grow up singing, except like I sing a hymn at church.
Yeah.
But when I was and I played clarinet and piano, And when I was in high school, although it doesn't seem like it right now, I'm a tenor, and they needed tenors, like everyone needs tenors, because that's a kind of a rare voice type.
For tenors.
And because I could read music, I was recruited to sing in the chorus for, I think there was a show choir that I was singing in, as well as in like the musicals, and I started doing that even though I never at that point considered myself to be a singer, just because I was identified as a clarinetist primarily. And then it became this great way to express myself, which, the thing is, when you play piano or you play clarinet, you're always emulating an ideal, which is actually a singing human voice. And so why not, focus on that as a kind of basis for the way that we approach music. Mm-hmm. And so when I went to my undergraduate, which was at University of Rochester, I was pre-med, but I also led the a cappella group, the all-men's a cappella group, and started taking voice at Eastman, the music school at Rochester, and then just started becoming very serious about developing that part of my musicianship. And so when I went to graduate school, I actually went into choral, got that master's degree, and that has been so important through my life, musical life as a conductor, not only in working with singers, but also preparing choruses and working in doing the Brahms Requiem or the Verdi Requiem or conducting an opera. Those are all areas in which, if you're not comfortable working with singers and knowing how it works firsthand, I think for me, that kind of empathy has really helped me be as effective as I can be. And, near here, I conduct Dallas Symphony every year for the Christmas concerts, the holiday pops that we do.
You've been doing that for...
I've been doing that for, I think this is the 15th year.
15 years,
yeah.
That's incredible.
And that is a huge collaboration with the orchestra, the Dallas Symphony Chorus, Dallas Symphony Children's Chorus, and guest soloists. And we put on these concerts that are just incredible, with so many people on the stage, and I'm very comfortable with all the different groups. So that has really helped me in that in particular.
Hi, this is Sarah.
And I'm Carter.
And this is Some of Our Thoughts.
We're two Southern sommeliers, and we want to share everything we love and know about wine. We started hanging out during quarantine and cooking and drinking and listening to music, and we just thought this would be a great way to bring everything we know to you guys.
We will make wine knowledge and food pairings easy and approachable. So put on your favorite vinyl, grab your favorite glass of wine, tune into our show, and let's have some fun.
Wine and vinyl. So check us out on roguemedianetwork.com or wherever you get your favorite podcast. We'll be talking about a lot.
Hey y'all, I'm April.
Hi, I'm Caroline.
And we have a new podcast for you. What's it called, Caroline?
Bloody Happy Hour.
It's going to be your new favorite guilty pleasure. We're going to talk about some bloody stuff. Serial killers, true crime, rapists. Why not join us? We'll have a good time.
You literally never know. I don't know what I'm going to say. Bloody Happy Hour. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome to One Star Rewind, a new podcast about those dreaded one-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, We will peel back that 1-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that 1-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On 1-Star Rewind, we will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a 1-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.
So when did you decide to move into orchestral conducting?
So the choral degree was my master's, and then I went right into an opera orchestral program at IU at Indiana, and then transferred to Yale, just because I wanted to be in a smaller program than it was at Indiana. Although I loved Indiana, this has nothing to do with that. I felt like I just needed to be in a smaller environment, and I was very interested in studying with this particular person at Yale, Lawrence Layton Smith, and so I went there, got an orchestral conducting artist diploma there, which is a little bit like a master's degree, and then got my first position in orchestra. And the thing that happens with orchestra or with conducting careers, because I think it's something that's kind of it's a weird area of expertise, being a conductor, and I think within the conducting field there are different tracks that people kind of fall into, at least from perception from the outside. I consider myself to be equally comfortable with opera, orchestral, and choral, or a combination of those. But if your primary first or second position is, let's say, choral, it's a little harder to jump to the next track. And so my first job happened to be in Denver, Colorado, as associate conductor of the Waco Symphony under music director Marin Alsop, who's wonderfully leading the symphonic world in many ways. She was my first boss. And that position kind of made me, I think, recognized as an expert in orchestral conducting, and then everything that I've gotten since has kind of been on that. And anything outside of that, I've kind of pushed my way into those because I was just interested in them, but I wasn't necessarily the person that people thought of for, I don't know, some choral or an opera conducting. So I do those, and I love doing them, and every time I get a chance to do those sorts of things, it's great. But yeah, I'm definitely seen in that one path because it was my first job.
You've also had the chance to do a lot of great work in the pops.
Yes,
field
I love conducting
and work
pops.
with Chris Body and some amazing artists that folks would certainly know.
So Jason Alexander. He's George Costanza.
Okay, so what did he
Well,
do?
he's a Tony Award winner, so he actually can sing.
He's a singer too,
and he was doing Broadway before getting Seinfeld, and then he did Seinfeld, and then he after that wanted to go back into singing on Broadway and doing live stage. And it was funny because then he wasn't able to get the roles that he wanted. He wanted to be whatever leading man, and he then started doing these symphony shows, which he doesn't do a ton of them, but I was very lucky to get to do a weekend of those with him. And one of the things that he does is I forget what he called it, but it was basically every role that he would never get picked for, a medley of those like from just from all these random.
You don't see him as Curly necessarily.
Right, exactly. And it was just kind of like a montage of music from musicals that he will never get cast in, and he gets to sing them for the orchestra. And some of them, he's like, I'm standing there conducting, and he'll come up and use me as a prop, like just seducing me or whatever. And it was so fun to do that concert.
Yeah,
So and it was like a packed audience all weekend, and worked with Idina Menzel a lot. She's from Wicked and from Rent, and Elsa from Frozen, and she's so
Amazing
famous.
voice, yeah.
And Chris Body, and all those incredible concerts with him. And my particular affinity for John Williams and doing these film concerts. I love doing those, and I've worked with John Williams, so I have this
That's cool.
personal connection with him.
Yeah. So when did you have the chance to work with John Williams?
He came to Pittsburgh to do a concert where he donated his time to a completely sold out concert that he did not get paid for, and the orchestra was able to raise a lot of money for that sold out weekend. And I prepared the orchestra for him, and then assisted him on the stage, and was completely starstruck. And he's written so many things that we all love, and so getting to do that with him was a huge opportunity for me to get to know the kind and generous person that's behind all that wonderful music that we relate to so strongly, because the emotions that we see on the screen for, let's say, the end of E.T. or whatever it is, so much of that comes from the music. If you watch the same scene on mute, it's just not going to have the same effect, or just the speaking. It's all of that combined, and so the music you cannot separate. And just listening to the music triggers a lot of those emotions. So I love doing those concerts. I think that I know that Waco's doing like a sci-fi kind of film music concert.
Yes, because of the eclipse.
Right, yeah,
coming
it's
up.
perfect
There's
timing.
Gonna be a jillion people.
Yes, oh yeah, that's going to be
in Waco on
right.
the 8th
You have a
of
very
April.
clear view,
Yeah.
and that sort of concert gives us an opportunity to reach new audiences, and also perform music that so many of us love because of the films that we also love. And so it's a great opportunity.
Well, one thing we have not done yet, but I'm anxious for it to happen, and that is to do a movie with the live orchestra.
Right.
You've done that.
I've done that quite a bit in the last couple years. Yeah.
We want younger people coming.
Yep.
And they'll come for those.
Yeah, those are very amazing.
Yeah.
To
and
do,
dress up in the costumes.
right. You can do so. For people who don't know what those are, we will perform. For example, the last thing I did was Amadeus. So in Dallas, we did the film Amadeus, which in this case, the music written by Mozart or Salieri, and we play the music with the orchestra, and in this case the chorus, straight through from beginning to end of movie. The audience comes to the concert hall, watches the movie with the dialogue, with the sound effects, but there's no music in what's coming out of the speakers. The music, the soundtrack is coming from the live performance of the orchestra, and in this case the chorus on the stage. And we don't get to redo takes, we just do the whole thing straight through.
You just keep going.
You could do Star Wars this way. You could do Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter movies.
They're very popular,
We're doing those in Syracuse. We're doing Jurassic Park up there.
Someday.
And
really looking forward
and
to
if I'm here, that's something that I would love to do, because I know that it reaches new audiences, and also these crazy fans. I count myself among them, who would stand in those lines on premiere day for a Star Wars movie, and it is a very similar feeling to come to the concert hall, stand in a line, and walk in and experience the movie with the music elevated in this way.
Oh, well, I have the great blessing for many years now to narrate for the children's concerts, and to see these 4th and 5th graders. Many of them never been to the Baylor campus, never been in Waco Hall, never heard a live orchestra. And when they first hear that music, the expressions on their faces, it's just worth so much.
It must be so fun for you to watch, because unlike us, you can see what they're doing.
I'm watching, and
we're facing the wrong way.
A little video. One little boy, I think it's the same little boy in the last 2 years. He's conducting.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
I
love it.
Yeah. Oh, I do too.
I'd love to switch roles at some point and be the person who's facing out the whole time, because I know that the audience is experiencing something amazing, but I can't always watch it. I can feel it, and I certainly can see it when I turn around. But while it's happening, it would be a little weird if I turned around and watched
you mentioned Miguel and Miguel Harth-Bedoya, who I've talked to about coming on this podcast. So we're planning.
Yeah, that'd
we're
be great.
planning that. He comes out and he starts speaking to the crowd in Spanish at times. And one little girl, the look on her face was like, he's speaking my language.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It was worth $1 jillion because
that's amazing.
that connection then was there immediately, and we had those kids in the palm of the hand.
Yeah.
For the rest of it.
That's
and
wonderful.
how many musicians might come out of that experience? I mean, it's just, to me, it's just a joy to get to do that in conjunction with him. But we've come to the end of our time, and I like to end these with a little questionnaire similar to the one the late great James Lipton would use on Inside the Actors Studio.
Okay, yeah,
so these are my take on the questions.
Okay.
What is your favorite word?
Word. Extraordinary. I love that word because it describes something that's special and different, not ordinary, something you don't encounter every day, and I very often think of that about a particular performance or experience.
What is your least favorite word?
Oh, I mean, if I was not creative, I'd say ordinary. But let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to think of a word that describes phoning it in. I think let's say that's a word. Let's say that that's a word. Because I think very often in any discipline, it is possible to get to the point where you phone it in. And I never want to get to that point. I never want to experience life without trying to find the fullest potential. So,
yeah, I mean, one of the questions, and now I recall one of the questions we were asking those initial, how do you handle, hopefully it would never happen in the Waco Symphony, but a musician that just hasn't prepared the music?
Yeah.
And I guess there are times when you have to figure out how to
inspire or boost.
I mean, I'm sure you have to face that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and there's certain things outside of our control in terms of how they feel. But
life gets
we always have to.
Sometimes
Well, I mean,
it's
but it's very important for a person who is, let's say, running the rehearsal, conductor, to be in a position where they are able to be at their best and the most inspiring and the most energetic, in order to get the best results from musicians. So, I mean, I think I can say boring as a kind of parallel word to phoning it in, because I think that can be the result of what happens if you do.
Right. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Well, I mean, I can just describe. I think a person that doesn't have an overly conscious idea of how they're perceived, so a lack of self-consciousness, not self-awareness, but I think a person that inspires me is someone who clearly is doing things because it's their passion and not because they want to look good or they want to be perceived in a certain way, in a way that's kind of a couple steps away from their genuine self. And it's something that's very difficult for us as human beings, because we are self-conscious. We are concerned about how we're perceived. But in certain, let's say, I think in creative situations like creating a concert and rehearsing, the less you see that in a leader, the better, because then they can truly be going for what they truly feel passionate about, without worrying about, if I say it this way, it might make me sound this way, or might make them think of me this way. And I say this because I think I'm naturally probably self-conscious, and probably had, especially early in my career, struggled with that, because you're worried about doing things the right way. I think as a young conductor, I was very concerned about those sorts of things, and I'm much less now, and I'm very thankful for that, and it's what gets me excited, and it's what I think keeps me true to myself when I'm up there.
I love to ask this question of musicians. What is your favorite sound?
Sound. Oh, gosh. And it would be trite for me to say the sound of the orchestra, but I'm going to go with the sound of the orchestra.
Okay.
And that's a general thing because there are so many sounds that are possible from an orchestra.
Yeah.
Just the orchestra we have on the stage, there are combinations of instruments that create an incredible sound. For example, the end of the third movement of the Shostakovich, there's a duet between harp and celeste, and they're on opposite sides of the hall of the stage, and they combine to create a single sound that is not possible with any single instrument, and that is one of the many billions of sound combinations that are possible with an orchestra that can move an audience. And I'm thankful for composers for thinking of those things, and then for musicians for bringing them to life.
Right. What sound do you hate?
I hate sounds that don't go away. Like if there is a frequency, like a low frequency coming from some, like if I'm on a plane and the constant sound of the engine, especially if it's a pitch, I think that it can be very infuriating.
Really annoying.
And so then it's great to be able to get quiet, and that's why you have all these noise canceling headphones and things like that really help. But those sorts of things, you're helpless because they're just drilling into your head, in particular low frequencies that also vibrate. I mean, that's a really terrible. Or you can feel the vibrations. They're always vibrating. That's how the sound itself is actually happening. But the lower sounds have a physical feeling that cannot go away, and I hate that if it's not something that I'm actively pursuing. Like for example, beginning of Also Sprach Zarathustra, this great tone poem. Sure. It begins with the very low instruments of the orchestra playing this low C, and it's like a rumble, and that's a good rumble. That one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. What other profession would you like to have tried?
Oh, I think I actually was asked this question earlier, not here, but just someone asked me that, and I was thinking about when I considered those things, and that was during the pandemic. Because during the pandemic, a lot of orchestras
people
not doing things,
or reassessing things.
and I think a lot of people were thinking about that.
Yeah.
And I think I would probably be the sort of person, because I like working with people, like being collaborative. I would want to work in a similar kind of situation where I'm working with people, either in some sort of business field or even I don't know, local politics, whatever it is, where you're just trying to rally the troops. I think that sort of career would have been very interesting for me. I don't think I would have thought that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But as I grow older, as I'm more interested in what's happening in society in general, I think that this is something that I think about a lot, and I think that I would be a person who might be able to contribute, or at least be a helper or something, because I want the society in which we live to be good, and so I would be a fierce advocate for that, and I could see myself at some point, maybe not, maybe it won't happen, but I could see myself being that sort of person, just because I think it's my nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. What job or profession do you know you would not want to do? No, thank you.
Well, I mean, I could pick an easy one. I don't think that I would be a good, like mountain guide. And the only reason I say
I've
that,
never heard that
okay,
before.
like a Sherpa or something like that, because the thing is, I live with these people who, in my family. They all love to climb mountains. And
Oh, really?
yeah. And so I go with them usually. but
Colorado's a great place.
reluctantly. Right, yeah. Colorado is where my wife's
do any of the
family's from.
14ers there?
Yeah. I've done a lot of 14ers.
Uncompahgre?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it's not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah,
but I will go.
There are times you think,
yeah.
just get a helicopter to plug
like
me off of this.
I'll be on the mountain and thinking like I'm never gonna get up there. I thought that was the peak, but it's not. There's another one that's back there.
There's a lot more, and then there's the
right,
slaggy
you
stuff.
obviously
you have to
speak
go
this from experience.
Right,
yeah.
Uncompahgre we've done.
Yeah.
And Sunshine and
Yeah.
Handies,
It's just
those
I mean,
right
those,
there in southwest
yeah.
part of the
That's
state.
kind of it's just absolutely one of those things where every time I'm up there. I have a little bit of regret. You know, I will feel like, why did I do that? And then I'll be kind of like, if a helicopter doesn't rescue me, I think I'm okay just lying here until the end.
But then my son was kind of encouraging me. This was Uncompahgre. And then I see a 6-year-old clambering her way down.
Yeah, that's infuriating. Yeah.
Okay,
like,
I
why?
really ought
okay,
to be able
all right.
to do this.
So that's enthusiastic and
that's
great
what
and not me.
I hadn't thought of those 14ers in a while, but that's great. It's an experience. Finally, when you arrive at the pearly gates, what do you want to hear the Lord say?
Oh, job well done.
Yeah.
You know, I think I hope that I can live a life where I feel that I've done my best in every way, and I don't want to feel any regret.
Oh, Lawrence Lowe, Larry Lowe, you are just a delight. And we
Thank
are
you.
experiencing this week with you a job well done, and we appreciate your talents so much and your time with us.
Thank you, Ann.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us. Join us again for Central Texas Life. Bye-bye.
Central Texas Life with Ann Harder is part of the Rogue Media family. Be sure to check out our other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate this show 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.